Hello and welcome to this edition of Planet Hope, the programme dedicated to the UN Millennium Development Goals. Target number 7 promotes environmental sustainability for all. This week we're in the small fishing village of Belawak in Mauritania, where life has changed dramatically with the arrival of electricity, water and, crucially, the capability to make ice. Fishermen who once lost more than half their catch in the heat of the sun are now able to better preserve their fish, which means they can sell more, transport their catch and even attract custom from other local villages. The new facilities have turned Belawak into a port that no longer relies on the capital, but into a thriving community. Thierry Gilles takes up the story for France 24.
Mauritania, a land locked between the desert and the ocean. In the past few years, several droughts have hit the country, forcing a large part of the population into exodus. Desertification is picking up speed. Water is becoming a luxury. To survive, many people head for the capital, Nouakchott. Piling into these suburbs on the outskirts of town. Running water is very rare here. These merchants and their donkeys supply locals. But for many Mauritanians, buying fresh water on the street corner is beyond their means. Belawak, north of the capital. It's been a while since the last well dried up in this fishing village. The desert is gaining ground.
I came to this area in 1993. I've been working with the locals ever since, and I know that they suffer a lot. The times have really changed for them. They no longer know how to get by. I don't think anyone's going to accept living here when the water's all dried up. It'll be a desert.
Fewer and fewer fishermen live in Belawak. The younger ones have moved to the city to seek their fortune. The bravest ones, or perhaps the most desperate, have gone abroad. That's what Amadou's brother did. Several months ago, he climbed aboard a wooden canoe with other young people from the village, headed for Europe. Amadou hasn't had any news of him since. He's very worried because he knows how dangerous the Atlantic can be and has already seen many shipwrecks.
One year we found 500 bodies here. We called the police so they could bring them to Nouakchott. The ocean's very dangerous. For someone who doesn't know the ocean, it's very difficult to reach Spain.
And yet Belawak is very bountiful. The Mauritanian coast is one of the world's richest in fish. But fishermen face one great enemy: heat. During fishing trips, the catch stays exposed to direct sunlight for many hours. And once back on land, the fish must be transported a long way before being sold. In the end, there are great losses. After each fishing expedition, about 60% of the catch has to be thrown away. But despite all this, Amadou, an experienced fisherman, doesn't want to leave. He was born and raised here.
I'm happy here in my village. I can't do anything about all this. I know what the implications are, but I can't do anything about it. This is all I have.
The everyday lives of Belawak locals are starting to change, thanks to a handful of men and these new high-tech installations. In the past few weeks, the village center has been taken over by these containers that are made in France. They're stations that are completely self-powered. One of them supplies drinking water.
I think water is a worldwide concern, not only in a district like Belawak or at the level of Nouakchott. As they say, water is life, and this area suffers because of the lack of drinking water. The aquifers around here are full of salt water. The only viable solution is to desalinate the ocean water.
This is the man in charge of installing the containers. He's a Senegalese contractor who's very proud to show off his masterpiece.
And here's the outcome. This here is drinking water. It's completely safe to drink. It comes from a well of salt water. We're about 50 meters from the ocean. We treated the salt water in the well, and here we have drinking water. It's a real godsend for the village.
The water is sold for a small amount of money to locals, enough to pay for the machine's upkeep and 2 employees.
The village is completely independent. During the day, the sun supplies the energy for the water, ice and electricity. At night, when there's no sunlight, these windmills turn on. There are very strong winds in this area. That means that there's always energy being supplied to the village.
The second container makes ice, an essential element for conserving fish. Thanks to the ice, these fishermen can stay out at sea for a longer amount of time and travel to further surrounding villages to sell their fish.
Before, people went all the way to Nouakchott to buy ice. Now, all the fishermen near the well have access to ice and water, and it's cheaper than before.
The installations helped boost business in the village, but they also ruffled some feathers.
They're very jealous. All the neighboring villages are envious. Even the people that are camped in places far from the well come here for ice. They no longer buy it in Nouakchott.
Village locals are making the most of their new situation. In fact, buying and selling ice has even become a lucrative activity for many, a convenient way to make some extra cash. A new container has just left the port of Nouakchott. It had been blocked there for many months, reportedly for administrative reasons. Somehow, word of our presence here for this report unblocked the situation. The reasons for that are shady, as is the funding of the program. No NGO has taken part in the project, and when we asked the district chief where the idea came from, his response was somewhat unclear.
The project started, well, the whole thing started thanks to a Mauritanian businessman who was interested in promoting renewable energy, which is a driving sector. I think everybody can agree on that.
Mysterious stickers are glued to the container's sides that say Coopération 92, Cooperation 92. That's the name of a French aid group set up 20 years ago by the Hauts-de-Seine, an administrative district located near Paris. At the time, it was headed by Charles Pasqua, a politician whose career has been marred with corruption scandals.
Our wish is to continue our partnership with French development agencies, and in particular with the Hauts-de-Seine administrative district, which already has a lot of experience in the matter.
Coopération 92 is now defunct. Shady management, unfinished projects, rumors of corruption. The organization was dismantled 4 years ago. Only the projects launched years ago continue today. But Belawak locals are far from those concerns. Today is a day of celebration in the village. The new container has arrived, and Mohamed Ba is beaming with pride.
It's a well bet. Some ask us, how did you come up with the idea? How did you dare to do it? But that's it, we took the challenge.
After water and ice, electricity. Like the others, this new unit will be completely self-sufficient and will supply 37 households, 15 televisions, and 2 refrigerators. That is, once it's set up.
I can't believe this. It's not good. Well, above all, this is a first, and we hope that it will continue to develop and be the envy of all of Mauritania.
It may spark envy, but it's also sparked a lot of interest. With running water, available ice, and electricity, the village has become very attractive. Many wealthy people in Nouakchott are considering building second homes here by the seaside. But for Ahmed, his main concern is that the locals that left Belawak come back.
Lots of people wanted to leave for the cities or elsewhere, I don't know. A lot of people stayed, and a lot of people who left came back because everything they wanted elsewhere is now available here in the village.
And Ahmed is speaking from personal experience. He wants to introduce us to his sister, who came back to live in the village.
I went to live in Nouakchott because there was no water and no ice either. I left a year ago to sell all sorts of things. But when I found out there was ice in the village, I came back fast because I could keep working here.
But Ahmed can't help but be worried. And it's not the first time the source of his worry can be found in the center of town.
What you see here is an old well. It only lasted 3 months. It was all a waste because none of us were trained to take care of it. People don't really know how profitable it could have been. Now that I work in drilling, I know how profitable it is. The whole village has realized it. They know how profitable it could be. We want to be trained to be able to look after it.
Self-sufficient Belawak hopes better and brighter days are just around the corner, and perhaps even further development. But what will happen if these new installations stop working? Who will come and fix them or fund their maintenance? The locals of this little fishing village in Mauritania don't have the answers to such questions. They just hope for a peaceful future.
Well, that's it for this edition of Planet Hope. Thank you so much for watching. You'll be able to see this edition again online by logging on to france24.com. Bye-bye.